Hello, good evening, everyone. Jamen here. How y'all doing? I'm going to be sharing uh, a bunch of things in this and the rest of the videos in this series. I'll try to make them as short as I can, a few minutes each. And uh, what I'd really like is for this to be a conversation. And so please, as you're watching, I would encourage you to take notes, just pen and paper. And then when we have an opportunity to talk, and I invite you to join me on the Collective Intelligence Block Party, and on the Solution Club at the beginning of the New World, both of which you can find out about on radish.org, radish.org. So please join me. And then again, please note any questions, comments, challenges, other ideas, etc. Symbiotic ideas, anything you want to bring to the table. Love to hear it. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of my perspective, and I think there's like 10 other videos that I'll make, something like that, give or take, in this series that will, go into detail on each of the things. I'm just going to kind of mention them now, just to give a little bit of an overview. And my overall perspective, it has multiple different centers. It's just this big sort of complex hyper object that I keep trying to simplify. And one of the centers is convergence. There's a whole bunch of things that are converging, really powerful trends and capabilities. And so anyway, among the elements of that convergence that I'm going to focus on are, one of them is collective superintelligence. Another is what I'll just call Uber strategy, like big planetary scale strategy for how we're going to get through this bottleneck. And what do I even mean by getting through the bottleneck? Another is what is like a product of it's part and parcel of the Uber strategy, is this. There's so many things need to happen so quickly in order for us to basically make it, that we need to kick things off and accelerate things. When I say things, I mean the development and implementation of solutions generally. And there's many different ways to kick off kind of an exponential transformation. And one example, which is a project we're working on right now that I invite you to join us on, we're using the code name the Brooklyn Singularity, and for Brooklyn, New York. Anyway, the Brooklyn Singularity is one example of many different possible singularities that could really get this whole thing heading off in an exponential global transformation. That in turn connects with the topic scenarios of global transformation, different possible vectors for global transformation, and there will likely be a combination of several. That in turn is deeply connected to another major center of the whole of my perspective, which is what I call the conversation. And when I say the conversation, I'm talking about the very specific one pertaining to how will we save life on Earth? How will we get through this bottleneck? And for me, that has three main components. What's our goal, or what are our goals? What's our strategy for getting there? The topic of kind of the Uber strategy, the grand strategy that I referenced earlier, and relative to the convergence. And then what are our immediate next steps, right? What are we focused on right now? What do we need to do right now? 1, 2, 3, right? And that is what I refer to as the conversation, the big conversation. And scenarios for global transformation are a part of that conversation. Another topic, prediction versus control, is a part of that big conversation. The conversation of small incremental developments in evolution versus big radical transformational, potentially very quickly transformational. That's a part of the conversation, because a lot of these have to do with, like what's possible and what's not possible. And so I find that these different topics, these different perspectives on the big hyperobject help me to get kind of a more complete grasp of it. And finally, we have the topic of I versus we, who's we, who am I? But not just philosophical, but very practically. What do we focus on versus what do I focus on, etc. Anyway, so those are among the major topics that'll be covered in this series of short videos, currently centered mainly around two main centers of the hyperobject, which has many centers, but two main ones that I'm currently focused on are the convergence that I talked about, the convergence of all these different elements and trends and co-creations of ours, which all converging are creating the possibilities and the perfect context for radical transformation, in turn centered around another center, which I call the conversation. So with that, I invite you to join these in watching these videos and in making this a conversation. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts either on an upcoming Collective Intelligence Block Party or Solution Club. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to your comments and questions and to meeting you face to face. So thank you so much. See you soon.